The results are in. AMD today announced revenue for the fourth quarter of 2023 of $6.2 billion, gross margin of 47%, operating income of $342 million, net income of $667 million, and diluted earnings per share of 41 cents. On a non-GAAP basis, gross margin was 51%, operating income was $1.4 billion, net income was $1.2 billion, and diluted earnings per share was 77 cents. The Wall Street consensus estimate was for AMD to release revenue of $6.13 billion with adjusted earnings per share of 77 cents for the quarter. Analysts estimated the current quarter's revenue to be $5.73 billion with an EPS of 67 cents. So the expectations were more or less met. However, the stock fell today, January 30th, just before the earnings came out by 3.24% to $172.06. After being up by 112% in 2023, and up in the first 3 weeks of January by 30%. On Monday the 29th, semiconductor analyst Christopher Rolland from Susquehanna International Group raised his price target to $210 from $170 but cautioned the chipmaker must raise its AI forecasts for this year. 3 months ago, AMD CEO Lisa Su forecast that for its new MI300 GPU, which is to compete with NVIDIA H100s, revenue would surpass $2 billion in 2024. Expectations are high for an update on MI300 guidance, but can AMD meet or exceed them? Rolland asked. Rolland said he believes investors, on average, expect AMD to generate $6 billion in data center GPU revenue this year and want AMD to raise guidance to at least $3 billion. Well, during the earnings call, CEO Lisa Su did, in fact, change the guidance to $3.5 billion, but when you look at what is happening in the other segments of the business, it gives room for pause. The gaming segment was down by 17% year-over-year and the embedded segment was down 24% as well. Not only that, but the outlook for 2024 is for data center segment to be flat, for the embedded segment to be down, and the main segment that will be up is the GPU segment as well. Throughout the earnings call, she did make it clear that she was working with clients on a multi-generational approach, which, to me, signals that these potential clients will be interested in waiting for their next GPU to come out. So where do we stand? Let's just look at the basics. I do recognize that for some, the current PE is not relevant because of the costs associated with the charges incurred in the acquisition of Xilinx in 2022. AMD had some costs stemming from the acquisition, even into 2023, and that has thrown off some of their bottom line numbers. However, when we compare the forward PE for NVIDIA in the semiconductor space, we do find that AMD's price is still high. AMD has a forward PE of 47 while that of NVIDIA is 31. Of course, we can wait until the stock price to come down a bit or wait for an increase in expected revenue in the next quarter before buying the stock. And CEO Su is a very capable woman, as she is the one who is responsible for the turnaround with some of her shrewd moves when she first took over, such as her bet on the Ryzen chip. Right now, she is betting the farm on GPUs and AI, and specifically, the MI300 server chip to bring in more revenue. As an aside, I watched a YouTube video where the host basically geeked out all the chips that are coming out. However, you have to realize that NVIDIA and AMD invest heavily in R&D. So, both of them, as well as Intel, will always have new products coming out. What will matter is market share. AMD wants into the GPU market and the highly in-demand AI sector. However, one has to realize, even if NVIDIA has a bit of a problem fulfilling its orders, companies can decide to hold off if they do not like how the implementation of the MI300s with their ROCm software. And the shortage won't be forever. There is a shortage, right now, though, and perhaps AMD can exploit it, even though NVIDIA's dominant CUDA platform is what is running the majority of data center infrastructure. In fact, Microsoft, Oracle, and Meta have contracts for the AMD chip, but that will only start bringing in money in the second half of 2024, and we haven't heard too much about the orders, unlike the one placed with NVIDIA for $9 billion. So, I would only consider AMD a buy in the second half of 2024, after its gains in 2023 and first 3 weeks of 2024.